This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 133. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's episode, we've got a ton to get to. Vince McMahon possibly thinking about what to do with his biggest pay-per-view of the summer, as well as Vince McMahon and the XFL again for the third time, and what WWE is planning to do with their live shows. Also, we're going to review and give you a preview of Double or Nothing that's taking place this Saturday, as well as the biggest topics and trends in the wrestling biz today. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Man, what a week of wrestling ahead. The shows that were put on were really, I thought, really good from all involved. NXT, AEW, WWE. Storylines are moving. Can't wait to break it all down with you. Man, an emotional Dark Side of the Ring. Man, the Owen Hart story. The part that, I don't know if you watched it all, the part that I think is freaking everybody out is his widow kept the latch. She showed it, and it was such a flimsy piece of metal that I was just floored. It was right at the end, and I was just like, oh, did I need to really sit through that? It was so tough, but all in all, a really good season this year. Season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring was unbelievable. So a lot of great stuff going on in the world of professional wrestling. This weekend, we got a pay-per-view from AEW. Looking forward to breaking it all down. What got your attention first this week, cuz?
So I think the big news coming out of Friday night on SmackDown was Drew Gulak's last match. And Drew Gulak's been getting a nice build, been working a lot with Daniel Bryan. They had a fantastic match, really tore the house down. After the match, it's revealed that Gulak's contract has expired, and he's now a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. And I feel like Gulak's one of those guys that is a total missed opportunity for WWE. I feel like he's a guy who is a really good in-ring performer, and they just didn't utilize him right. And now at the end of his contract, they start to give him a little bit of shine. They start to utilize him a little bit more, and it's all said and done. Like, he's going someplace else. It turns out his contract was coming up. They were working on something. He asked for a raise, and WWE said no. And he was like, all right, cool. I'll go someplace else. So he's free if he wanted to. We have a mystery contestant entering a ladder match this weekend at Double or Nothing.
Oh.
It could be Drew Gulak.
See, here's the funny part.
Him.
Here's the great part about contracts is that sometimes, in terms of how the WWE used them, most of the time when they kind of sense that, okay, this guy is asking for more money, we're going to say no, they should realize that, hey, this guy is probably going to shop around. He's going to use his newfound brand, his newfound image in WWE and maybe shop himself. So to put him with Daniel Bryan and the elevation, I just feel like he's one of the rare people that took advantage and the WWE didn't bury him. So he's lucky in this situation. Some talent, because obviously what happens is if you're the WWE and you want to devalue a wrestler, you just bury them. They're not on TV, 1. 2, in the matches that they become, that the participant is involved in, they become basically enhancement talent, like Aiden English. Perfect example. This is a guy that is a workhorse, is a great talent, but after a while they just stopped using him, and then, for some they go on to commentary. So for Drew Gulak, he's got to be thanking his lucky stars because at the time he was a free agent, his star was the brightest, and he's going to definitely cash in. And whether it's AEW around the world, I do think that he's got an opportunity to have success. He's a great wrestler, as evidenced by, like you said, he tore the house down.
Yeah, and also he has a lot of personality. If you go back to what he was doing when he was, who was he part of? I think it might have been with Enzo, when Enzo was in WWE. He was his sidekick in his Patsy, and he showed a lot of charisma. He showed a lot of personality, which I think will translate and really helps him connect with the fans. I think you're right. WWE botched this, and he is leaving at just the right time because his free agency star is extremely bright. Question for you. We have Edge accepting Randy Orton's challenge to battle at Backlash. Do we need to see this again? Do we need to see this match one more time? We just got a match between these two at WrestleMania. It was probably the worst match on the card, and yet we're bringing it back for Backlash. I don't think that – I know I don't want to see it again. I'd love to see Edge get into a feud with somebody else, anybody else. I don't necessarily want to see him wrestle Randy Orton one more time.
See, here's the thing. They got a chemistry, and I like extended feuds. I like the fact that the first match maybe wasn't traditional, and now they want to carry it over. These two probably maybe could have one more, even a third. For me, I like it because I think this kind of match should be better where it's a little bit more of an in-ring type of match. I think maybe some in management felt the same way you did, that, okay, we kind of took it to an extreme in a violent match. These two probably could have a much better in-ring performance. And look, these are two made guys, and they're going at it. So I think that maybe you're judging it based on the previous match. I think look forward to this match.
I totally am.
Yeah, this match, I think upcoming, has a chance to be a really good one in the ring. And I think that's why they're telling the story that way. Edge's promo, bro, has been awesome. It's just like it's like a master promo class 101, and then Edge and Randy Orton bouncing off each other in the ring. I just think that the feud is made for extended, and I'm excited for it. I think it's good at this point in time for these veterans to be in the ring with each other.
All right, we'll see how it turns out. You might be right where having it more in the ring works out better instead of them going and bumping all around the Performance Center. I had a real bad taste in my mouth after WrestleMania 36, so I definitely didn't want to see it at Backlash one more time. Now, I think the big thing that came out of WWE Monday Night Raw this week was Seth Rollins extending an offer to Austin Theory to join his disciple Murphy. So Austin Theory ends up getting removed from Zelina Vega's group. They ended up jumping him and beating him up to then lead into the main event, which was Buddy Murphy versus Drew McIntyre. And what ends up happening is Seth Rollins goes over to a laid-out Austin Theory, who's just on the ground as this match is getting underway, and extends his right hand to him. Austin Theory takes his hand, shakes it, and next thing you know, Austin Theory jumps in the ring, and they all jump and gang up on Drew McIntyre. Do you like the direction for all three of these competitors, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, and Buddy Murphy?
Absolutely. I think this has the makings of a nice trio that can do some things. I guess while personally I don't really care for the whole persona and the character of the Monday Night Messiah, what he's doing with it is great. Good music. He's putting it up. Obviously you have to mix it up a little bit. So Seth Rollins doing it, I definitely see how talented he is. He's now a guy that can adapt. He can play the heel. He can adapt characters. He's somebody that is kind of like a Chris Jericho now, on the path of just being a chameleon. Can do a bunch of different things. Me personally, I don't like the kind of dark side tone of this guy. I'm more of the aggressive, the guy that was just after winning the Universal title. I know the fans really didn't take to that too much because the promos weren't up to it. But this guy, this character, definitely, I'm just kind of curious, though, why the AOP just, has been so snake bitten and hasn't been able to, stay on board with the roster. And I know injuries and I know politics, it makes it hard. But the AOP, I felt like, was a better, sidekick for Seth Rollins. But if that's not the case, these two are not bad at all. I'm liking as well Murphy's disciple character. I thought the match that he had on Raw was crisp, and he got the victory, and I thought it was great. I'm curious and intrigued as to how it's going to progress, so I'm okay with it.
So I really enjoy the Monday Night Messiah character that Seth Rollins is portraying right now, and I think the addition of Austin Theory adds a little bit of a foil for Buddy Murphy. If you've noticed, Buddy Murphy, it almost doesn't seem as though Buddy Murphy is 100% sold on Seth Rollins. And what you get sometimes is you have Buddy Murphy talking about how one day they're going to end up having to come head to head, and they're going to come face to face. And Buddy Murphy, I think, has a good idea of what the lay of the land is, whereas Austin Theory can now come in and be that loyal disciple, that loyal right-hand man, that guy who doesn't ever speak a little bit out of turn, that guy who doesn't ever look at Seth Rollins with a little bit of a squirrely eye and say, what the hell are you doing? Whereas Buddy Murphy can be that guy. And it allows the two to really help elevate each other inside this threesome, as well as Seth Rollins being the main orchestrator of all of it. I think this is a really nice pairing. I think adding him to this group is going to really help elevate him, as well as help build the characters of both these other wrestlers. So I think this is a really nice job by WWE, by Paul Heyman as well, really helping to develop this out and work with the roster that he has for WWE's Monday Night Raw program. Now, the thing that I took away from NXT the other night, it happened in the main event where you had Rhea Ripley taking on Io Shirai, and then Charlotte Flair showed up. And I think Rhea Ripley's fantastic. I think Io Shirai has a great career ahead of her. And Charlotte is Charlotte Flair. Love her, hate her, whatever you want to say about Charlotte, she is Charlotte Flair. She's an amazing athlete and a great talent. It dawned on me that you are seeing the best women's competitors in NXT. Not on SmackDown, not on Monday Night Raw. You're getting them on the yellow brand. SmackDown's Bayley and Sasha Banks, it's a nice story. After them, the roster really falls apart. On Monday Night Raw, right now, it's Asuka, and I don't really think there's anybody else there to really challenge her. So looking at what you have with NXT,
yes,
you can run down a list of 3, 4, 5, 6 different women who could all be vying for that championship. I think NXT right now has the best female wrestlers in WWE.
Absolutely. Something to pay attention to as to how they're going to match up and who's going to now be elevated into the main event scene. Now, I think what everyone in the wrestling world likes is a deep roster. And I think what we're seeing now is the WWE is kind of skewed at the top. And then what happens is look at, what's now transpired. Vince McMahon has literally now lost his 2 biggest stars, Becky Lynch and Roman Reigns. So now you're going to be forced to elevate some people that you may not have thought of. And obviously you're going to rely on the big people, the big characters like Seth Rollins. But in NXT, what you're seeing now is that whenever there's a turnover and some big names are called up to the main roster, the development is just churning out characters that we all want to see. And when you pick and choose, I do think that what NXT would benefit from most, as well as, like you said, the deep women's roster, is to allow different women's characters like a Natty or a Tamina to just stroll through NXT and to integrate into that brand as well, so that the roster is deeper. I think that what NXT does is just it highlights characters. The brand itself is just perfect for what I think a lot of wrestling fans like. Time to develop matches, time to develop characters, good in-ring performances, and I just think that the brand extension just kind of hasn't done NXT all that great. I think that you could just infuse 1 or 2 more women into the NXT roster and allow some characters further to develop to even have a deeper roster. So what I like about NXT overall is that they identify characters, they give them the time, and a lot of them, at least from the time they, go through and graduate, they're superstars. And that's what it is. They can take a talent, and if a talent works hard enough, the NXT system makes them superstars. So I just wish that maybe a couple more of the established stars would be in the mix as well. Kind of like you've seen with Finn Balor. I think he's transitioned perfectly. He's in the mix. When he's there, you want to see him. And like you've said, all credit to the women and all credit to Triple H and the staff over there at NXT. They've developed a women's roster that everyone's proud of.
Yeah, speaking of the brand extension, so I want to get your take on this rule that WWE has added. So they've added a rule to the inter-brand crossover that will limit each star to only 4 appearances on each brand that isn't their own. So in this case, Charlotte can go to SmackDown 4 times. Charlotte can appear on Raw 4 times. If you were to take an NXT star, so we'll say Rhea Ripley could go to Raw 4 times, or she could go to SmackDown 4 times. Or what you could have is you could have Baron Corbin show up on Raw or NXT, an allotment of only 4 times on each of those brands. Is this a good idea, a bad idea, or at this point, why do we even have brands? Why not just let it just be free reign and everybody go challenge everybody?
Exactly. It seems like they've revisited it so many times, and I'm not seeing the value of doing it. Obviously, that first go-around, cause when you had Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, you had huge names, and Edge, Brock Lesnar. Obviously, in the beginning, when they tried it, it established a brand and competition. At this point in time, you just got to have 3 distinct shows and say, look, we're the biggest brand in the world. Yeah, we're going to have 3 distinct styles. But wouldn't you not like to see potentially AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan on NXT just on a random Wednesday, and you give him 45 minutes? It can just be maybe not character-driven brands, you know what I mean, in terms of like, hey, this character's here on this program, but different distinct styles, whereas the Raw is the more, because I don't know if you paid attention, but Raw had a lot of squash matches, like 3 minutes, it had a lot of fast matches. You're like, okay. And
I think this is a great idea that you have. I think like going stylistically is probably the way to go.
Exactly, where maybe the younger talent that needs to get enhanced, get the squash matches on SmackDown. Raw is the marquee matches where, like, you remember where we say, oh my God, on Raw we're gonna get the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Where and then NXT can be like these classic matches, maybe more like interview styles. Building the promos in terms of different type stuff. So you can have different styles on different shows where you go, okay, this week I'm in the mood for some wrestling, or this week I'm in the mood for some drama and promos, and you know where to go. And I think that's probably a lot better than just saying, okay, Finn Balor's on NXT. Could you imagine Finn Balor having a nice squash match on SmackDown, then a week later he has like a good 30-minute match, then the following week, he's on Raw, and he's just cutting a nasty 10-minute promo on, Johnny Gargano or anybody else. I think that's probably the best way to look at it, is that you want to have distinct styles for a show as opposed to just, you just want to see the biggest talent. And I would love to see, or you could say, this week we're going to have The Miz and Miz TV and the shows there that take place on this particular brand gets all the shows. So I've never been a fan of the splits, the drafts. It's just never caught my attention, and I'm more in favor of that. And that's why they should call me for the ideas, because I just thought of that on top of my head.
No, I was thinking about that, I think maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, that it'd be better because you've got 3 different brands, if you just kind of separated them by what they delivered.
Yes.
And I think WWE kind of waded into that pool just a little bit, but I think it did it half-heartedly. I mean, you've got the Cruiserweight Challenge and the Cruiserweights all taking place on NXT, yet that form of wrestling only takes place there. So you were able to kind of section that off to that brand, and that's great. But I think you could do different things like that throughout this roster and throughout these 3 different shows that you have. And almost kind of like what we used to get with WCW, where you'd have your Monday night, you have Monday Nitro, which was the big show. That was the big dog, right? But on Saturday afternoons, you would have, I think it was like WCW Powerhouse. It would be on like TBS. And it was basically an hour or 2, and they were just matches. There were matches that really introduced you to characters. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers Norman Smiley, but Norman Smiley was always on that Saturday program.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him a ton. So then when he got over to Monday Nitro, I knew exactly who he was, So you can do, like you said, you can do different things, and each one of your brands can have their own signature. And I think that's probably the best way to go, instead of getting what we're getting, because the ratings are absolutely in the toilet right now. I'd like to transition over to AEW. Okay. And I kind of want to pick your brain on this, because watching this take place, I was really, really upset, especially because we have a pay-per-view this Saturday.
I thought of you when I was watching it. I said, I don't think Adam and I are going to like this, because it didn't, like, you and I both are kind of in the agreement that the go-home show should be kind of like a couple-hour promo for the pay-per-view, and I don't think we really got that.
No. We definitely didn't. So I want to talk about the Britt Baker match. So it's Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, Nia Rose, and it is Shida. So Shida and Chris Statlander are on a team versus Nyla Rose and Britt Baker. And Britt Baker's doing a great job being a heel, doing what she does, while Nia Rose starts the match. As the match continues, Britt Baker gets tagged in. She didn't want to go in. She ends up going in. She ends up in the corner. And then what happens is you get her in the corner, and you get this this tag team moment where you've got Chris Statlander and Shida picking up Nia Rose. And if you don't know anything about Nia Rose is a big chick. If you watch WWE, she is like Nia Jax, but maybe 50 pounds heavier. So they end up getting her up on both their shoulders, and they basically throw Nia. They throw Nia Rose into Britt Baker. Now, Britt Baker did a bad job of protecting herself in that corner, okay? I'm going to put this on her, and I'm going to put this on the spot. I'm going to put this on whoever booked this match because this was stupid. So Britt Baker's in the corner, and she's got her knees up. So she's basically sitting on her butt in the corner, looking dazed. Knees are up. Knees need to be flat. They throw Nia Rose into her. Nia Rose is a big girl. Nia Rose goes into one of her upright knees. And basically, I'm telling you right now, there is no way she wrestles this weekend. Her knee looks like it is shredded like lettuce and cabbage right now. Her ACL is probably done, and her LCL and MCL are probably shot. I've got no confirmation on this, but looking at what I seen, I went back and I watched it again. Her knee is done. This was a stupid, ignorant spot to put in a go-home match. You are building towards a pay-per-view, the biggest pay-per-view of your summer, right? You're building towards this. Everybody needs to get out of this healthy to go into this weekend's matches. Yet, you now are going to have to adjust your card because I'm telling you, Britt Baker is going to be done for at least 6 months. This was dumb. Whoever okayed the booking on this and said, yeah, that's a good spot. Let's go with that. You're stupid. The competitors in this match, that's on all of them. Thank God that they were able to take care of her because when it happened, Nia Rose knew instantly what took place. Nia Rose knew instantly what took place. Chris Statlander knew instantly what took place. You could see them all talking to each other, working around it. I don't think the referee knew what was going on, but you could tell that the actual in-ring competitors knew what was going on. And Nia Rose at one point drags Britt Baker to her corner, throws her in the corner, and then tags herself back in so she's the legal competitor so she can finish the match. So it was kudos to them on being able to handle the situation, but to put yourself in that situation, you're all idiots. This was the dumbest spot I think I've ever seen. Yes, it was impressive, but man, was it stupid. Just days before you go for a pay-per-view. Absolutely ignorant. It pissed me off. I thought it was dumb.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You got to work right in the ring, and I don't know. I'm starting to question the women's division right now. I'm kind of disappointed. I guess I'll ask you this quickly. How much blame do you give Brandy Rhodes? I mean, Brandy, Kenny Omega, they're kind of in charge of this, and it doesn't appear to me that the women's division has set its mark just yet in AEW. It's kind of like, a lot more of the botches are taking place on the women's side on AEW. So what's up with that?
Yeah, and legitimately in this match specifically, there was about 3 or 4 botches. There was a couple blown spots. I don't know what it is. If Brandy Rose is the one who's going to be in charge of all of this, I think she's probably the wrong person. You have to realize she doesn't really have a big background in women's wrestling. There might need to be somebody else who's a little bit more well versed. Maybe go get, I don't know, say somebody like a Trish Stratus and bring her in, or maybe bring a Lita in, somebody who doesn't have ties anymore to WWE and can kind of go do whatever they want, and they have a background in this business and can help mold it and help shape these girls. Like, legitimately, women's wrestling is at an all-time high right now. And if you're really good, right? So the Becky Lynches, the Charlotte Flairs, the Rhea Ripleys, if you're really, really good, you're on that same level, maybe even higher than some of the men. And I think what we're getting in AEW is you're getting a lot of missed spots. You're getting a lot of girls who maybe are getting a push, and they might not just be ready for it right now, or maybe they just don't deserve it. Maybe the in-ring action's not there. This was a stupid spot that really irked me. Overall, what did you think of AEW Dynamite for a go-home show? It sounds like you weren't really on board with it.
D-. I thought they could have did a lot better job. You can't have that many botches. I don't think that if I was watching that, I'd be inclined to buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great build for a go-home show. Overall, I thought it was good for an AEW Dynamite show, but you're building towards your biggest pay-per-view. And it just missed. It missed the mark. There was nothing that really got me intrigued for any of the matches. The only thing I would say that I kind of popped for was at the very, very end where everybody was outside on the football field, and you've got Matt Hardy and you've got the Young Bucks, both Young Bucks are there, as well as Kenny Omega, and they're taking on the Inner Circle. And then all of a sudden, Adam Hangman Page comes running in at doing like a 100-yard dash. The only thing that would have made that better is if the Hangman would have came in on a horse. I was watching this, I was like, man, it'd be great if Hangman came in on a horse right now. But he comes running in and helps regulate things and then just kind of rolls off into the background. There was nothing here that really got me sold for any of these matches. I'm going to watch this pay-per-view because generally AEW's pay-per-views are great, but nothing really sold me on this. All that being said, let's jump into some predictions. Our buy-in pre-show, we've got Private Party versus the Best Friends. Who are you taking in this one?
Here's the best part about this. I was looking at the rundown of the card. I'm like, you know what? I could make a case, which is actually good for a card. I was looking at the matches. I'm like, you know what? I legitimately can spend a minute arguing for a victor on every side. I was like, are you kidding me right now? This is really good. I don't know, because of the fact that, you know what? Each result could carry off into so many different things that this card is really going to establish how the characters are going to develop going forward. And I can make an argument for everybody to be a winner and everybody to be a loser. So I'm just going to go with the team that I think needs to be over at this point in time, and that's Private Party. So give me them.
I'm going to go with Best Friends on this one. And you're absolutely right. Running through this card, I'm like, you can make a case for everybody. Everybody
like,
deserves
wow.
to be on this card right now.
And everybody deserves a win and a loss.
I think that's a credit to AEW. That is a good job on you guys for putting this together.
Yes.
All that being said, this is going to be one of those cards where I think we get more wrong than we get right.
For sure.
So let's look at a match that I feel has a bit of a rushed build. I'm not really in on it. It doesn't really seem to be that prestigious of a match. That's just because of the build. Like I said, it feels very, very rushed. It almost seems like it came out of nowhere. You've got Jon Moxley, who's the AEW World Champion, taking on Brody Lee. Who do you have winning this?
No doubt Moxley. There's no way Brody Lee comes in and changes and gets the title within the first 5 matches of his career in AEW. Moxley all the way.
Yeah, I've got Moxley winning it as well. I just don't understand why you would take it off him. Like I said, this has been a rushed build. I feel like you could have Brody Lee lose this, and then you can go into a much more elongated build for something else down the road. New championship. Mike Tyson will be presenting it. It's the AEW TNT Championship. You've got Cody Rhodes taking on Lance Archer. This is a match where going into it, I'm like, hands down, it's got to be Lance Archer. After the build on Dynamite, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I got to rethink this. There was a whole lot there because of what Jake the Snake did to Brandy Rhodes, where I'm like, I almost feel like Cody has to win this to protect his wife's honor. All that being said, I think Lance Archer, you need to build a superstar, and I think he has the superstar capabilities. So I think Lance Archer wins this. Cody Rhodes can take a loss and not be hurt at all.
I'm definitely in agreement with you. At first, I was like, man, Cody needs it. But then you look at it and you say, this is an opportunity to screw him again. Maybe a swerve. Something happens where he's right there on the verge of winning, and then Jake the Snake does something. But yeah, Lance Archer, perfect fit to win it all. So give me Lance Archer.
In one of the more creative matches, a stadium stampede match where I hope somebody gets ran over with a golf cart. You've got Matt Hardy and the Elite taking on the Inner Circle. I'm going Matt Hardy and the Elite here. I just feel like, look, you're getting the Young Bucks back together. I think what's going to end up happening is there's going to be something screwy that's going to happen with Hangman Page. Hangman Page has been out of the picture for so damn long that something silly is going to happen here. All that being said, no, actually, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go with the Inner Circle. And it's going to be because of Hangman Page, as I kind of talk myself out of my original pick. So I'm going Inner Circle, and Hangman Page does something silly and screwy and screws over the Elite and screws over Kenny Omega.
Okay, then I'm going to go the opposite this way. Give me, so you thought at first it was going to be Matt Hardy. Now you think it's going to be the Inner Circle. I just think that Matt Hardy coming in deserves to kind of get over on this one, and I do believe that being the Elite is really obviously a great team and a great faction. So I want to see them win, so I'm just going to go with them.
All right, nice. Like I said, we talked about this earlier. I can see it going both ways. It is nuts right now with what's going on. I just think you got to do something with Hangman Page, right? So it just feels like it's time now. You haven't seen him in a while. He comes back. It's time. We've got a casino ladder match. Darby Allin versus Colt Cabana versus Orange Cassidy versus Rey Fenix versus Scorpio Sky versus Kip Sabian versus Frankie Kazarian versus Luchasaurus versus a mystery competitor that could be either A, Drew Gulak, could be EC3. I don't think so. I don't think his 90 days is up.
Yeah.
Could be the Revival. I don't think so. Could be really anybody at this point. I have no idea who the mystery competitor
Could
is.
be Sting.
I'm intrigued.
It could be
Sting. It could be Sting. Could be Sting.
Could be Ric Flair.
Who do you have winning this?
Oh man, this one probably is the hardest one to look at. I mean, who the hell deserves to go over in this one? Let's think about this. Man, it's gonna be a mystery partner. You know what? I think I'm in line with Orange Cassidy, Colt Cabana getting a win. I think the mystery competitor will be interesting and make it, really, it might put the team over the edge. But Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, how do you put them on a loss on a pay-per-view? I just feel like Sabian, Kazarian, Luchasaurus, while they're great talent, more along the line of enhancement talent. So give me Darby Allin in this one.
It's funny. I had Darby Allin written down for myself as well. The only other person who I could see winning this, besides whoever this mystery competitor could be, would be Orange Cassidy. But I'm going to go Darby Allin in this case. We've got MJF, who knows he's better than you, versus Jungle Boy. Who do you have?
Ooh, he knows he's better than you. MJF.
Yeah, I've got MJF as well. He did a really nice spot this past week on Dynamite. Again, didn't do a whole bunch to sell this match, but it was nice to see him in the ring and see him working. All right, AEW's Women's Championship. Nyla Rose, who is the champion, versus Shida. This is a no DQ match. I've got Shida winning this against Nyla Rose. Look, Nyla Rose is fantastic, but I think Shida is going to pull out the stops here. I could see her being the champion. I'm going to go Shida in this one.
Okay, I'm in line with that. I can go with that because we got different. I think Shida could definitely be somebody that could ride the wave of success. In this one, give me Hikaru Shida.
Okay. In a match I don't think is going to take place, we've got Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander. I'm going to go Chris Statlander's crazy ass and her alien counterparts. I just don't think this match is going to take place.
Oh, you really? Why not?
Because of Britt Baker's knee.
You think it's too much, huh? You don't think it was an oversell? You think it's a legit?
I think it's a legit injury.
Okay. Well, if it does take place, then you got to go with Statlander.
And then Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. No announcement as to whether or not this is a retirement match for Dustin Rhodes. Shawn Spears was selling that he wanted to retire Dustin Rhodes. I don't think it is going to be a retirement match. I do think that what you're going to get is you're going to get Shawn Spears getting a win here. Dustin Rhodes at this age and this point in the game, I think, is going to be used as a guy to help get over other talents.
Okay. This has a chance to be a really good match. Obviously, at this point in time with Rhodes' career, you got to go with Shawn Spears.
Nice job. So let's run through this real quick. So working from bottom to top, Dustin Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. We both have Shawn Spears. Britt Baker, Chris Statlander in a match that neither one of us think will probably take place. Chris Statlander is winning that. The AEW Women's Championship, we have Shida being crowned the new champion over Nyla Rose. MJF versus Jungle Boy, we both have MJF. In the Casino Ladder match, Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Rey Fenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, Luchasaurus, and a mystery competitor. We are both going with Darby Allin. In the Stadium Stampede, you've got Matt Hardy and the Elite beating the Inner Circle, who I've picked. And in the AEW TNT Championship match, Cody versus Lance Archer. We both have Lance Archer. We need to crown a new star. In the AEW World Championship, we've got Jon Moxley retaining over Brody Lee. And in the buy-in pre-show, you've got the Private Party beating the Best Friends, who I've selected. Just so everybody's up on everything, I lead the prediction results 4-3, so a very slim margin. That could all change because this really feels like it's going to be one of those wrestling pay-per-views where we get way more wrong than we get right. So it'll be fun to see and interesting to see.
Okay, it's going to be a good pay-per-view. I can't wait to check it out. Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What you got?
So Vince McMahon reportedly is thinking about what to do with the biggest pay-per-view of the summer. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, McMahon is determined to have a live crowd for SummerSlam, and that could lead to the event being delayed from its traditional August date. SummerSlam is currently scheduled for August 23rd. It was going to be held at TD Gardens in Boston. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh previously announced that sporting events, parades, festivals, and other events with large gatherings of people won't be allowed to take place until at least after Labor Day on September 7th. Given how valuable SummerSlam is to the name of WWE, keeping its options open for a live event in an arena makes sense at this point since the show is still 3 months away. The Undertaker was supposed to have wrestled his final match at WrestleMania 33 in 2017, and the man himself confirmed Sunday that retiring after the match was indeed his plan. However, after a rewatch of the match, Taker had a bad taste in his mouth and couldn't go out like that. The Phenom said he looked like he was bloated Elvis and added that he felt bad for Reigns since the match wasn't up to their standards. After watching the match, The Undertaker said that he felt the need to get redemption for his poor performance. That's why he's still wrestling. WWE plans on doing live shows with fans. However, it's a bit sticky. It's a bit of a sticky situation. The plan remains to return to live audiences when permitted, which then depends on each state. Still a tricky situation. It doesn't sound like anything prior to July at this point. Drew McIntyre will defend his title against Bobby Lashley, and it looks like MVP will be in Bobby Lashley's corner at Backlash on June 14th. Also, sounds like Vince McMahon wants to buy the XFL back. Yeah. In a super gangster business move, Vince McMahon thrusted the XFL into bankruptcy, only to look back and say, you know what, I'm going to buy it back for pennies on the dollar and clearing all of the debt that has been accrued. This is a savage business move by a guy who, at this point, I don't think puts on great wrestling, but is still has the acumen of an outstanding cutthroat businessman. Take your company, start it up, promise everybody you're going to invest millions of dollars, only to send it to bankruptcy so you can buy it back for pennies on the dollar, and all that debt that you accrued goes away. Gangster move. Ember Moon is currently recovering from an ACL injury and recently said that her wrestling career may be over. She stated that this is the hardest thing she's ever had to bounce back from. Moon was hurt in a 24/7 title chase scene as she was an extra body in the event. To say her main roster push has been less than stellar is an understatement. This could be a build for her comeback story, but this could also be one of those things where she might actually be done. In some sad news, former WWE superstar Shad Gaspar went missing while swimming in a strong rip current near Venice Beach on Sunday. He was swimming with his son, who was dragged under as well. The Coast Guard was able to retrieve Aether. I'm going to mess up the name. I think it's Aether, the former Crime Time member's 10-year-old son. On Tuesday afternoon, the Coast Guard called off the search, and on Wednesday morning, the Coast Guard confirmed that Gaspar's body had washed up on the beach, and he was pronounced dead at 39.
Oh, man. It's a testament to him that he went out saving his son. It's just so unfortunate. The outpouring of support and love, just everybody, it seems like, that came in contact with him definitely had nice things to say. It's just a really gut-wrenching, gutted story that he passed at 39 years old, man. Really tough.
Really is tough. And you know what? Thank goodness his son's okay, but still, really hard time for that family.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, make sure you follow Adam on Twitter, a good follow, at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you're watching a wrestling event, feel free, message us. We love engaging with the wrestling fans. We love talking about everything that's going on in the world of wrestling. The Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast airs every Friday. You can find our podcast on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network anywhere your favorite podcast is housed. All you got to do is search 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and when you subscribe, all the content will find you, and we appreciate all the love and support since 2013. All right, cuz, let's enjoy the pay-per-views. Definitely check out what's going on WWE Network. I think both you and I are loving the Undertaker series there. We'll break it down more in depth in a future episode. Dark Side of the Ring, the podcast in the world of wrestling. A lot of good content outside of the ring, and we'll start talking a little bit more about that in future episodes. Take care, cuz.
Take it easy, brother.